month of November 2017. Well, on Citizens Forum this morning, I'll be bringing a searchlight on the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. When I say the administration, you're talking about real administration. And no doubt, keen watchers, political watchers, and observers have noticed some very glaring lapses in the administration, especially when it has to do with governance, when it has to do with the administrative day-to-day running of that administration. Well, is it from the discordant tunes between sister agencies or between relevant ministries, departments, and agencies in that government? One may quickly recall the face-off and the hula baloo that the confirmation of Ibrahim Mago, the acting chairman of EFCC, generated, not only between sister agencies in the government of the president, but also when he was uh, questioned at the chamber of the Senate in the National Assembly. You will recall that there was some kind of clearance by the presidency for Magu to step in as acting chairman or substantive chairman, as it were. But right before Magu got to the Senate for his questioning and possible confirmation, the DSS, actually, which is supposed to be working closely with the EFCC in carrying out the anti-corruption war, sent another report to the Senate, which countered that from the presidency, and that has coupled his confirmation. So till now, you still find this acrimony between the DSS and the EFCC uh, because the two agencies have refused to work together. You also realize that the Chief of Staff's office is always having a running battle, or presently having a running battle, with the head of service of the Federation over the reinstatement, recall, and even promotion of Abdulrasheed Maina, the supposed and the alleged pension thief who has actually um, gone into hiding and releasing some exposés as it were. So when you see this various discordant tunes, this discord, this harmony, and disjointedness in the many ministries, departments, and agencies of the administration, you cannot but call to question why there are so many loopholes. Why are these gaps so glaring, so many? What some may call leadership deficits, some may call it administrative lapses. So many names have been coined by analysts to discuss why is it so? What exactly is wrong with the government? What can be done to actually sellotape? If that will not work, what can be done to actually glue it together so that service delivery will be efficient, prompt, and timely for the people, so that dividends of democracy, good governance, can actually reach the people, not only at the city centers, not only at the state capitals, but also at the grassroots level. That is what we'll be looking at this morning. I am Toby Joseph.
And I am Chienye Egwuonwu. Welcome. Very true, Toby. You have said it all. One would not deny the fact that we can smell conflict.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually conflict brewing between those people. And then you find out that there's crisis between them. There is no relationship at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're far away. And you tend to find out that this is even affecting their performance.
Mm-hmm.
It's even affecting the economy. And then you begin to wonder what is happening. Is it bad governance? What are we talking about?
Yes, you will recall that that was, I think that was quickly sorted anyway. There was some kind of face-off also between the Minister of Finance and Colonel Abid Ali, the Customs General, the Controller General of Customs, because, of course, typical of any retired colonel, it will be difficult for such a person to bow to the ribs and crevices of a civilian, a bloody
Bloody
civilian,
civilian.
not to talk of a woman, Minister of Finance. But I think that was quickly sorted, and I think we've had some kind of appreciable progress in that agency being the major cash cow right now for the federal government when it comes to internally generated revenue. I think for the first time in the history of Nigeria, they've made steady progress as regards how much they've generated for the federal government. Well, that is what resolving these differences, learning to work together, setting aside your political interest, your selfish interest, and of course, pursue the greater good, the common purpose for which you are actually appointed or elected to serve. Well, these are the things we want to discuss this morning. These are the things we want to be a searchlight on the show this morning. I'm sure many of you have a lot to say about this. And we are actually expecting our guest is going to walk in the studio any moment from now. He's the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA Abeokuta branch, lawyer Ibrahim Atanda. Well, no doubt, Nigerians are actually reaching in the boiling point as regards the performance or non-performance of the administration. They are boiling over, agitated, especially when echoes and whispers of re-election of the president is becoming the order of the day. And I think the next meeting of the APC was timely because a lot of people who have been far away from the seat of power who belong to the party of the president were able to actually come on board, meet with Mr. President one-on-one, and of course bear their minds. Maybe Mr. President saw the handwriting of the wall, and that was why I was also allaying fears, saying that, well, I know there has been some lapses. Don't worry, we are going to do this. We are going to make appointments. We are going to expand the cabinet. We are going to, restructure, as it were. So, will these lapses be taken care of, as Mr. President has promised? If it is going to be taken care of, why is it taking so much time? Who are the ministers or appointees that are going to get the boots? If they are incompetent, let them go. If they are causing infractions of the unity, discord in the government, let them leave. That is the position of many chieftains and, of course, political analysts. Well, you can start sending your own contributions or questions as it were straight away to the short code 32120. All you have to do is to type rock, ROCK, level space, type your message, include your name, and send to 32120. The numbers to call remain 0809 868 7344 and 0909 146 967. You can also reach us on Twitter at RockCityFM. All you have to do is to get on Twitter and, of course, tweet on. We'll gladly read your tweets. On Facebook, RockCityFM 101.9 is our fan page. This particular topic is posted there. Just drop by and post your comment.
Do all sorts of things. They are now being shown their way one by one to go and sit down so that we can progress and enjoy the Buhari we voted for. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Dr. Benza. All right, let me reintroduce the guest in the house, the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA Abeokuta branch, lawyer Ibrahim Atanda. Lawyer Ibrahim Atanda, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning, listeners.
I'm sure you were monitoring on your way. I thought you were stuck in traffic or something. Now, what exactly have you noticed? Maybe many of us are overthinking or playing up and the whole thing. What have you noticed when it comes to all this infighting, administrative lapses in the government of the president?
Thank you so much. You see, my view on the entire scenario is that we are still fighting corruption. You know, it's not very easy to fight corruption.
Yes.
And there are so many dimensions to it. When you address one today, you see another one tomorrow. So it is expected, because to fight corruption, that is actually kind of cankerworm that has actually uh, entered the entire system. Let me just put it that way. It has entered the entire system and it's very, very difficult to find. So I'm not surprised that this kind of things are happening. It is still a way forward for our nation.
Now, when you say it's still the way forward, you recall the surprise, the disappointment, and the cries that actually greeted the discovery that Abdulrasheed Maina was, will I use the word, imported into or smuggled into the country, reinstated into the service, promoted in in the same service that he was accused of stealing pension funds, though it's still in the realm of speculation, allegedly stole pension funds. Uh, what do you have to say about that? The president is saying Mr. President is not aware. The chief of staff has been accused and fingered alongside the Attorney General of the Federation of masterminding this recall, reinstatement, and elevation. While the head of service is saying my hands are clean and they're actually tied because I warned Mr. President. What do you make of all this?
Thank you. You see, this minor issue is an eye opener to everybody. The whole thing started from the investigation conducted by the National Assembly and trying to investigate the activities of Maina then. And he actually approached court. He filed an action against the National Assembly, wherein the judgment of the court was that the National Assembly should, the court actually restrained the National Assembly
From inviting him and questioning him.
But in that judgment, we realized that the court did advise Abdulrasheed Maina that he should also submit himself to investigation, which he did not. And suddenly, it was later imported. You see, the whole scenario is that we just need to know.
Hold on, lawyer. Good. From that point, that they secured some kind of reprieve from the court, he disappeared. Are you not bothered that somebody like that disappeared, walked away from the system, right? And nobody knew how he left the country. Immigration officials were not notified. They could not accost him. Customs officers were also not notified. At least he must have gone through the airport or maybe the land borders. Nobody knew how Mina disappeared. There was a time he was speculated to have traveled to Dubai, cooling off, as it were. And then he came back to the country. The SS did nothing. Customs did nothing. Immigration did nothing. Even the FCC that had his case file did nothing until it was discovered that he has been promoted again in the service.
Everybody will claim ignorance of all this movement, and that is what we are hearing. I don't know when he came in. I don't know when he was reinstated. I won the presidency. I did that. We acted on the advice of the Attorney General of the Federation, which is the law officers of the Federation. And based on his advice, we had to restate him back to the ministry and all that. So the immigration involved, they were unable to apprehend him. The EFCC was unable to follow him and get him arrested even after the court judgment. All these still point to the fact that we are all still involved in this scenario. So it is very difficult to exonerate all the stakeholders in this scenario, starting from the EFCC, the immigration, the Office of Attorney General of the Federation, Head of Service, all of them were involved. So this is not a case of blaming one agency or another. They were all involved.
You will agree with me that this is very disappointing. If we have all these lapses, then would you say Nigeria is very ripe to fight corruption?
Thank you. I still believe that we are still right to fight corruption because all these scenarios can also go without notice. They can still cover it up. But the fact that we are seeing it is still a way forward for us. So unlike other issues that has happened in this country, many things happen that we don't know. That we are even aware of this is a way forward in the fight for corruption. I think I quite believe that it is good for us.
Now, you made mention of the fact that the actors involved, especially this Mina issue, have been trying to, exonerate themselves,
Shifting blames.
shifting blames. The blame game is so rife now. It even played out at the last FEC meeting, right in the presence of the vice president, between the chief of staff and the head of service of information, Mrs. Oyeta. Now, John Maxwell says everything rises and falls on leadership. The buck stops on the table of Mr. President. Can Mr. President exonerate himself?
He cannot because he has to take responsibility. He actually appointed the Attorney General of the Federation, and he believes on his competency, and at the same time, whatever the action of the Attorney General is, he still go back to the President. If the allegation that he was the one that gave the advice and that interpreted the judgment, that Maina can be reinstated. If that fact is established, then the president cannot actually exonerate himself. On the part of the head of service, all of them are still working under the presidency. So we will not be able to say that we will exonerate the president. But one thing we should acknowledge is that the fact that he allowed the whole scenario to go out for public to know what is happening, I think we should give that to him.
A lot of people have now questioned the integrity. Mr. President ruled on the toga of anti-corruption and integrity. A lot of people are now questioning that integrity. Do you think Mr. President has lost his credibility with all these exposés?
No, I would not believe that he has lost the credibility because, like I said earlier on, that in fighting corruption, there are two ways to fight it. If you acknowledge any corrupt officers or corrupt member of your cabinet or agency, and you allow the law enforcement agency to work, you did not cover the news, it is still a fight against corruption. And that is one of the major factors that we need to fight corruption. When it happens, let us know. Don't cover up. The fact that we are still a player discussing this issue means we are still fighting corruption. Everybody is aware of Minor Gate now because people are talking. Head of service is saying that, well, it was not my fault. Those days you don't hear them talking. You don't hear head of service talking. You don't hear minister saying that I didn't know anything about it. They will meet at the round table and resolve. We will not hear anything.
So now will be shrouded in secrecy.
You will not hear anything. But that we are privy to this information is still a fight against corruption. So the integrity is not lost.
Now, as a lawyer and as a stakeholder in the Nigerian project, especially the anti-corruption war, what are the lapses that you have noticed in the anti-corruption war and strategy of this government? And what do you think the president must do, especially the FCC?
Thank you. You see, the lapses I noticed, it has to do with execution of some of the law relating to corrupt practices, which the judiciary is working on now. I'm sure you are aware of the recent setting up of various committees to monitor anti-corruption cases. What are the results in court, and what is the law enforcement agency doing? I'm telling you, even on the part of EFCC, there is need to watch EFCC. EFCC should be monitored against corruption.
Why?
Because we will not rule corruption out even on the part of EFCC. There are some investigations that by the time they approach court, you see that the investigation, they are actually the one that led to an accused person being discharged and acquitted.
Is that true? Lack of thorough investigation,
which could be as a result of corruption. Which could be as a result of corruption. So bad investigation, either by lack of expertise or influence of corruption, should be monitored on the part of EFCC too, and even the court. Yes, that is why I actually keyed into the establishment of a special court for corruption cases.
Do you think that will work? It's been a while that Nigerians have been clamoring for a special court tribunal to actually try anti-corruption, try corruption cases. Would that work? Would that go a long way in strengthening the anti-corruption law?
Yes, it's going to work. I have two reasons why I believe it's going to work. One, all eyes will be on that court. All eyes, there's going to be proper monitoring of that court. Then it's going to will be able to get more time to face corruption cases. It's going to avoid long adjournment, because this kind of adjournment, like this general sense of justice delay is justice denied. So when you delay justice too much, there is probability that other factors will come in that at the end of the day you will not be able to get justice. So if we have special court for corruption cases, then you'll be able to monitor the case. Then the court, the judge presiding, will be able to master the date and fix short date for the cases, so that citizens expecting judgment of the court will get the judgment in good time. So I believe it's going to work.
But don't forget that the justices that will actually sit in this special court are not going to be imported from heaven. They're not going to be angels or cherubs and seraphs. They're still going to be justices of the Supreme Court or maybe a High Court. I don't know. That will be there. But some are accused of corruption themselves. Are you still optimistic that you're going to get it right?
Yes, I'm not going to say that judiciary is also free of corruption, but I know very well that we have men of integrity in the judiciary, and the chief judge is actually the one that's going to assign corruption cases to the judge, so he knows the judges that can handle that kind of cases. So everybody is a player in this fight against corruption. So a chief judge of a state will know who among the judges I have can I actually appoint as to monitor the corruption cases, and they are going to do it properly.
Now, in a bid to either regain the supposed waning or reducing credibility and integrity of the anti-corruption war, will it be out of place if Mr. President decides to appoint another EFCC chairman?
Well, that will be subject to if there is any established indictment on the part of the chairman. If he is indicted and Mr. President is not comfortable with him again, he can actually appoint another person. We have a lot of people that can actually monitor the corruption cases for us, and if he decides to appoint another person, either as a result of lack of satisfaction or because he wants somebody better, so Mr. President can do that. Perhaps he's going to also rekindle the hope of a common man, or even all players on anti-corruption.
Okay, you talked about rekindling the hope of the common man. What is it they should do to re-establish this credibility?
Thank you. There should be more. The EFCC should be more proactive. The EFCC should not leave in any stone unturned when it comes to.
I hope you know that this very government that is in power, the people so much believed in them, but all that we are seeing now, people are disappointed.
Thank you. You see, it depends on the way we are looking at it. If in the person's government we are seeing officers, appointees who are corrupt, and we know that they are corrupt, it is not something that we can say it is negative on the part of this administration. It is a kind of trying to start the war or continue the war from inside without allowing them to continue to hold those offices. So if tomorrow we still have in the news that another minister is being accused of so and so, it is still a positive step, in my own opinion, as far as this administration is concerned.
It's just a few months away, and then we'll have another election in Nigeria. Do we still have a future?
Thank you. I believe we still have a future. We must have hope that this country is going to be greater than expected. And we all must contribute, starting from who are we prepared to vote for. We are not just to face the government alone or the politicians alone. All of us are players. Are you ready to vote? Do you have your voter's card? Who do you want to vote for? Are you expecting to be given certain amount of money before you vote? Are you expecting to distribution of motorcycles, Okada? Are you expecting slippers, football? All these things, are they things you are expected to be looking for before you vote? So for us to know whether this country is going to be greater, we are all involved. In fact, we are more involved than the politicians if we know that.
Okay, my last question. The fight in corruption is a continuous thing. And then you know that the next government, come 2019, we will have a new government. Would they be able to continue this very fight? Or would you suggest that Buhari will contest again?
That has been an argument of so many people that him recontest again. No, it's too hot. No, the head will not allow him to do that and all that. That has been the view of many people. But one thing I know is that nobody is yet to point accused fingers personally at the president, except you are able to establish that. Then you say, oh no, forget it. But we are yet to see anything against the president personally. So, it's very difficult to get everybody around you to have the same integrity. And another thing is this: many things will influence the appointment. Party loyalty, geopolitical zoning, which might, in the opinion of the president, might not be comfortable, but you have to go by the party principles. All this also come to play.
You will recall that there was also a very scandalous one, a scandalous memo to Mr. President from the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Ibe Kachiko, against the Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Mekanti Baru. Don't forget that Mr. President himself is a substantive minister of petroleum resources. When you look at that scenario, what did you make of that?
Thank you. Do you know that an indictment from a single body, a person from that same body indicting another one, that is just a move to say that I am not corrupt. If you are looking for corrupt people, go and take him. Very soon you will come and check our department, so you should know who to take. It is still a fear of corruption war that can come. We don't see this in those days. So I believe that it is still a way forward.
All right, we'll take this breather for the national news at 10. After the national news, we will come back and continue our discussions. Lawyer Ibrahim Atanda, the NBA chairman of Abeokuta branch, will still be here in the studio. In the meantime, keep sending your messages to 32120. Just type rock, leave a space, type your message, include your name, and send to 32120. At Rock City FM is our Twitter handle. Keep tweeting, and of course, we'll read your tweets. Stay with us, we'll be back. Citizens from the Daybreak Show this beautiful Tuesday morning, and we have in the studio lawyer Ibrahim Atanda. He's the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association NBA Abeokuta branch. What are we looking at this morning is the fact that The administration of President Muhammadu Buhari has witnessed so many controversies, scandals, and of course lapses, as noticed by keen observers and watchers and political analysts who have seen some kind of uh, discordant tunes between top government officials or between two agencies that are supposed to be working for the common good or supposed to be working for the same vision and goal of the administration of Mr. President. One of such is the recall, reinstatement, and promotion of Abdulrasheed Maina, the alleged pension thief, which caused some kind of public altercation between the Chief of Staff, Abakari, and the Head of Service of the Federation, Mrs. Wilfred Onuyita. And we also recall that Magu and the DSS boss have been at loggerheads, Magu being the acting chairman of the EFCC. So when you look at all this, you begin to wonder what exactly is the cause of this. Is the anti-corruption war losing its bite? Is it losing its credibility? And of course, integrity? Or is Mr. President himself losing his integrity, as some have alleged that something must be done to quickly salvage his integrity and accountability? All right, before we enter that break, we talk extensively about how we can revive or how we can um, put in place the strategies to strengthen the anti-corruption war. And you talked about the special courts, which has been mandated even in the states of the federation. One key tool that this government has brought out is the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, AJA, which of course some have seen as a very good development. What are the strengths in this AJA that you think was not there before and will actually help in fighting corruption to start?
Thank you. The Administration of Criminal Justice Act is an act of the National Assembly, which some states have welcomed. They have domesticated it into their laws. Ogun State, we still have our own in the House of Assembly, waiting for completion so that we're able to welcome it into Ogun State law. One of the good things in that law is that there's what we call interlocutory appeal, which has been suspended by the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. For instance, if in the course of trial a judge delivered a ruling, the counsel against whom the ruling was delivered can appeal to Court of Appeal before the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. But now that kind of appeal is disallowed. The judge will have to continue and conclude the case. So if you have any good reason to appeal, either interlocutory or the substantial appeal, you can then now go after the judgment. Before then, the interlocutory appeal at the Court of Appeal will also enable the appellant to file a stay of proceedings. And once the proceedings is stayed, it will give room for injustice, especially if it is stayed for a very long time. So, Administration of Criminal Justice Act suspended any appeal interlocutory. So, it's a welcome idea. And it also accommodates speedy trial. It accommodates speedy trial. Those are the factors that were actually identified as clogs in the rules of administration of criminal justice. All this has been taken care of by the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. We only urge all the states to allow this act to operate.
All right, it's time to turning on the microphones to you and of course the platform so that you can be part of the discussion. You can call the studio lines at 0809-868-7344 and 0909-146-967. 32120 remains a shortcut number. All you have to do is to type ROCK in the space, type your message, include your name, and send to 32120. At Roxy FM is a Twitter handle.
Good morning, sir.
Good
Good
morning.
morning,
My name is Dr. Adekola.
Godfrey.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Party corruption is very good. You are party corruption of the bank. You want money for your flags. You want money for your flags. You say that the people around Buhari, they are corrupt. Look at the EFCC. Look at the country here and there. This is Buhari want to pursue the party corruption. Let him remove those people and set out immediately tribunal. Finish the thing. What the best over this case? That is the end. 2 days almost a judge case is very bad. Corruption, it is not better corruption, just like that.
Thank you very much, Godfrey. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello, Auntie Chienye.
Good morning.
Hello, Mr. Tobi.
Good morning.
I'm Kola Oluwabi. Good morning, our guest.
Good morning, Mr. Kolaluwa.
I commend your fortitude, sir. How
Thank
you
you.
have reacted to issues. But this shows clear-headedness and no ambivalence.
Thank
Let
you.
me start, sir. First, Nigeria is work in progress. Now, for a government that agents and alchemy, which people refer to as sin, won't expect this kind of a thing to happen. It is not easy to depart from convention. No. These all are reactions to change as one expect in chemical change, or that we call chemical reaction. That is fundamental change. All this is further get to an nascent democracy. It shows that this government is not a party one. We must quarrel with ourselves to enjoy that good friendship. As our pastor has said, things are left now in the open, not shrouded in secrecy. That is given to guesswork and suggestion. That which was associated with the past. The president is displaying more than ever before his golden statement. I'm for nobody and I'm for everybody. I give it to him. Things are taking shape and the country is on course.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank
Things
you.
are taking shape and the country is in course. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, this is Richard from Mafia.
Okay.
Thank you.
The injustices in Nigeria, it's like it's working in the southeast. I don't understand. Especially in this state. I would like federal government to look into that, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Hello. Hello.
Good morning. Our friend in the good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you.
I am Pastor Shola Makinde. I am calling from Ugu Kingdom. That's what we're Abeokuta again. Now, you will please allow me to quickly share my thoughts on the front burner issue this morning, which is, I believe, state of the nation. Now, first, I for one, I don't like sugarcoating a bitter cola with President Buhari's credibility is in tatters based on what yeah and what we see across the country today. But all the same, for me, Mr. Buhari can still recover. How? First, he should publish the full record of stolen funds as ordered by the court. I want to believe around February this year somehow. The second one, he must reshuffle his cabinet and replace the third one. He must also listen to the National Assembly to replace the EFCC chairman, Mr. Magu. Mr. Magu dare not touch sacred cows in private government. The fourth and the last one, President Buhari must fire all those hands in the shameful restatement of that chief, Mr. Maina. Thank you so very much. God bless the city. God bless Nigeria.
God bless you too. Thank you for calling.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
Hello, good morning, sir. My name is Big Daddy, calling from Abeokuta. Hello, our guest. Good morning, sir.
Yes.
We can hear you,
morning.
Big Daddy.
Yeah, it's a very nice something that we're saying. It. We that is alive, let's glorify the Lord. You see, what's happening today? Our president promised us a lot. This, where do we stand? We don't know what to say. Those ministers, are they up to where they put them? Because you only want to, I see that it's only compensation it did to those people that is in that stage. Because I don't want to name it power in football. What is it going? What is that thing that is moving well? That is when he has been there. You know, there's no part two for this thing that he's doing. Every deed in this world, good or bad, shall be written on stone. Look at what's happening in the street. People killing themselves because of one thing or the other, and we are complaining. But let him beware before we compare for the past and the present. Have a nice day.
You too, Big Daddy. Thank you. Hello.
Morning, Tobi. Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I'm Kyle Deolumide from Abeokuta. Buhari's administration, I think my president came on the mantra of fighting corruption, and that is the reason why we gave him that opportunity to serve us. If you ask me and many others as well today, we will regularly have a reason to say that corruption has become second nature to the citizenry. And I believe that it is still on and on like that without being quenched or so. The fire still continues. The president is trying his best, but unfortunately, he has not given it the way we want it to be done. Probably it is because the judiciary is not helping him, just like he himself has said. But I wouldn't believe that any longer. You see, corruption is not only when you eat my money or the money that belongs to you alone or whatever, but it as well goes down to the issue of herdsmen being so corrupt to the nature that they always kill at will now. And I want Mr. President, if he must be a success leader, to discover what people want and ask him for now, to probably see reason for probably naming these people as terrorists too, because they have decided to take life at will. I want to give kudos to Fauci and then the governor of Benue State, who have been able to see reason why they must have a law to be put in place so that all these herdsmen will go and then do the needful to curtail their cows or whatever. But if Mr. President is not doing this, I don't see what he's looking forward to in second term. He will not be able to achieve for this in this present dispensation we are as at now. Because this is what is hurting me now. And I believe we as a leader hate what God hates, then your work will be very, very prosperous, and then people will continue to have confidence in you. I still have confidence in his work, but unfortunately, about 80% of us have lost that confidence now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let him react to
All right,
all that
let's
has been
have
said.
your reaction.
Thank you, Godfrey. I still believe that the anti-corruption wall is still intact, and that there's so many people around the president that are still not okay. So he's not comfortable with many of them around the president, and he's advised that they should be removed. Thank you. On that, I think I share his view on that. Like I said, the president is working, but there are so many people around the president that are constituting the clog to the war against corruption. So I think the president should do something about that. So I agree with Godfrey. Kola Uluwabi something also said that the Buhari is not actually conspiring with them when it comes to the issue of corruption. He says that all the reactions are noted, and also appreciate, but that he believe that the government, the Buhari administration is not, they are working on the corruption. Pastor Makinde is of opinion that the president should publish the amount recovered so far. And again, it should also resolve this cabinet and replace Magu. I share his idea on the cabinet so that he'll be able to come up with some people who are ready to assist him in the fight against corruption and every other aspect of the government and publishing the money recovered. I think that one is true. That one too is necessary. But part of this money recovered, I don't know, maybe it has been pulled back to the revenue for upward distribution to states through the state allocation, monthly allocation, and all that. So I think it is necessary for the country to know on the issue of Magu that it should be replaced, but I do not think uh, it is still necessary for now, except if it has been established that the lapses is so obvious that everybody will not believe in what they are doing. I just believe that they should be monitored. Like I said, that EFCC too should not be exonerated from corruption. So they should be properly monitored. And who is going to do that apart from, if not for our president to do that? So I think they should be monitored properly too. Then he also advised that all who are involved in the miners case should be fired, but that will be subject to further investigation. If anybody is found wanting, I think I will agree that that person should be fired. Also, thank you, Pastor Makinde. Um, Mustafa also said that about 40 people are those people causing trouble for us now. Well, I don't know how he got that number. I don't know how he got that number. What he's just trying to say is that just few people are involved in these corruption cases, and it's actually affecting the majority of us. I agree with him. Big Daddy said President Buhari promised so many things, and it's like the confidence is no longer there for about 80 people. Well, I do not agree with him on that. Depend on the perspective with which he is looking at it, and I still believe that the president is still fighting the corruption, and we need to have confidence in him and to continue to share our thoughts and also support the fight against corruption. Not only from the president, this corruption thing is affecting so many people. It's almost everywhere. Apart from what the government is doing, what people around the president are doing, what we are doing within ourselves too, we should be able to check it, because that is also a step on our part to support the government in the fight against corruption. Thank you. How said the fight is still on, that he believed that we should give support, though saying that it is still not enough, that they should continue. So I also share that idea. I think they should be able to put more effort in the fight against corruption. Thank you.
All right, we'll add the messages and tweets. For the tweets, I have this one from Bodode Sulaiman. I stand to disagree, Mr. Chairman. Probably the presidency thought Nigerians won't talk concerning Maina's new appointment. They are just taking us for a ride. Then we have this one from Eniola Egbekunle. I think if the federal government can continue with the campaign and crusade against corruption and prosecute everyone that is found wanting, even members of his cabinet, Yemi Da Vinci, the truth of the matter is that the alpha and omega of the discordant tunes of this administration is the president himself. He had contested 3 times to be Nigeria's president, but his administration lacks good preparation for power. That's still from Yemi Da Vinci. And Eniola Egbekunle, I'm sure everybody will sit tight. Only few members of his board are going alongside with his vision to get rid of corruption in our nation. Yemi Da Vinci tweeted again, how can a retired army general allow kitchen cabinet he himself appointed to be at loggerheads with his party members? Then Comrade Mojid, how many of these corrupt persons have been brought to justice? This imaginary war the administration is fighting is a farce. Keep tweeting. Tweet at RockCityFM. Tobi.
Yes, more tweets coming in. Comrade Majid once again says it is only in Nigeria that a committee is set up to look into a corrupt act that is visible to all. Let's call a spade a spade. Ade Sami says, I think President Buhari should address the Fulani headsmen what we're thinking after Buhari met Lamadishino in Ibadan. All right. So let's go to shortcut messages. This one says, Toby, may you never go lost. I say amen to that. If I were Buhari, I would forget the second term and I will hang my boots when the ovation is loudest. Taju sent in that one. Well, some of us are not surprised. We knew how this government was formed. Iruwa Ogiwa, the president is just not in control of his government. Too many cabals are involved, and it's a pity. Malam Broker sent in that. Unbelievable, these unhealthy happenings under PMB's watch without drastic action. Battles between agencies, arms of government, ministries, the finance minister versus custom boss, Magu versus DSS, Magu EFCC versus DSS and Senate, head of service versus chief of staff to the president, NNPC boss versus Kachiko, Maina Saga, etc. I disagree with Dr. Unkom. The happenings is not having negative effects in governance. It really does. But it's like PMB is comfortable with the mess. If not, he should have fired those drawing him backwards. And they sent in that one. Good morning to you all and to Honorable Lawyer Ibrahim in the studio. Sir, on the issue we are discussing now, I believe we should call a spade a spade. The truth is that AFCC, immigration, the executive, judiciary, legislators, ICPC have failed Nigerians, especially in this time, and they all must take responsibility and repent. Chike from Ijai sent in that one. Festus Ade says, please, the guest to the studio should prove what he meant by so-called integrity of Mr. President when the presidential jet was kept in London for 4 months, paying charges on the guise and promised to run a lean government. God help us. All right, this one says APC's ineptitude and president's health and style are taking tolls on the administration. There is urgent need for review. Cosmos from People Center sent in that one. Alright, keep sending your messages to 32120 or you have to use to type rock, leave a space, type your message, include your name, and send to 32120.
Okay, we had more tweets from Eniola Egbekunle and Yemi Da Vinci. From Eniola Egbekunle, until we make corruption a capital offense like some other countries of the world, that's when the public office holder will see corruption as HIV. Then from Yemi Da Vinci, everyone is flexing their muscles and the big kakuna is on looking instead of whipping all of them in line. It's a shame. That's from Yemi Da Vinci. We go back to the calls. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Asali Nurudin Efficient is my name. I'm calling from here in Abeokuta. Mr. Ibrahim, I give it to you this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
In fact, I commend your analysis and submission this morning. I've learned a lot from your analysis.
Thank you.
Yesterday, I said it on this platform that 90% of Nigerians are corrupt. So, when you are expecting the president to select from these corrupt people, so he will definitely select the corrupt people. So, those who are surrounding him, they are not believing in his vision of fighting corruption. They are not believing in it. So, if you are asking him to remove this, then those who he will still appoint, they are still among these corrupt people. So, that's the challenge he is facing. He is a lone ranger in this fighting of corruption. So I see him seriously in this mess he finds himself. May God Almighty help him out. So, and I agree with you that we are getting here gradually. This exposure we are having, we did not have it in the last administration. They are fearing him. So everybody is exposing themselves now. They are exposing themselves. So I agree with you. We will get there by the grace of God. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's my submission.
All right, thank you.
We move on. Hello, good morning. 080.
Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yes, I appreciate you, sincerely, Barrister. You have done wonderfully well this morning. Let me also add my voice to what you have been discussing. As far as I'm concerned, I think the man is doing well, but he can do more. That is the situation. He can do more. You know what is happening now, as far as corruption is concerned, has not been happening in the past. We have whether hook or by crook, we have SDF now being sacked, but that has not happened in the past. We have NIA board being sacked now. That has not happened in the past. So it is now happening. It means we are having headway as far as fighting against corruption is concerned. So as far as fighting corruption is concerned, we are moving. It is not possible that you start something today and you will be there immediately.
It's a gradual process, and I know we will be there. So I know Mr. President has a whole lot of things for Nigeria, but because of our system, we should not take that away from him. He's also a human being. Because of our system, it is our system that we really need to work on. Since we have been talking, some have said, oh, Buhari has not done this, not do that. But nobody up to this moment has not questioned his integrity. His integrity. But usually the people, the character around him. But as far as he is concerned, we have not questioned his integrity. Now, what can he do? He cannot go to heaven and bring people to come and pilot the affairs of the country. But I know we will get there one day, and Nigeria is moving. It is not easy though, but we know we will get there by God's grace. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Hello?
Badi Lukman posted this comment. President Buhari cannot fight this issue of corruption alone since he's surrounded by the secret crowds of corruption in his administration. But since they have failed in fighting corruption, they should fix our economy, because if our economy is all right, those 26 dead Nigerian women found on Spanish warship will have been averted. Uh, um, Due to our corrupt and greedy leaders, that is the apex and the affairs of this country, Nigeria will not. Uh, Nigeria will not experience doom. All right, Shobani Lukman sent in that. Okay, let me add this shortcut comments to it, and then we get the reaction of Ayatollah. I advise President Buhari to see Rashid Maina as a foot soldier Kabals wants to use to discredit and hinder the anti-corruption battle. All right, Gideon Yedule from Elega sent in that. Things are not taking shape. Nigeria is not on course. The nation is in topsy-turvy. War against corruption should be total. No nepotism or favoritism. President Buhari should sit up and give us good governance. Let him bring in new blood into his cabinet. Fola Kinyemi sent in that. Your reactions?
Thank you. I know that Eniola initially was in support of the whole process, saying that the anti-corruption war is in progress, but they should ensure that they charge anybody for wanting to court promptly. And Yemi is of opinion that President Muhammad Buhari is the alpha and omega, and why should he allow the chicken cabinet to be at loggerhead with the party? That if there's any dispute between the two, then let's still go back to the president. I think I agree with that. The president is the overall supervisor. He should be able to be in control, and if there's any issue within the cabinet as against the party, he should be able to resolve it because he has the power to exercise that control. So I am actually in support of that. Majid said that there has not been charges of corrupt people to court, but I need to let him know that a lot of people have been charged to court. We need to do some monitoring to ensure that corrupt cases are disposed of promptly. And he also said that why are they setting up committee for what is obvious? What is obvious in the pages of newspaper might not actually be obvious the way he's looking at it. There might be need to set up committee to look deeply into what actually happened. Even in court, we used to see some instances where the police will investigate a particular matter, and when you get to court, you see another thing entirely. So setting up a committee is a good idea, just that it depends on the terms of reference of the committee setup. So it is good that we have committee that will look into the matter before reference to the law enforcement agencies for proper action. EFCC, immigration, judiciary, all the stakeholders are involved in the corruption. I think I agree with him entirely, but we still need to come together and make sure that we solve the problem. Judiciary is doing its own to make sure that the hope of common man and judiciary is sustained, and I think we are really working on that. EFCC too should be monitored. I have given that advice. Immigration too should be monitored. I'm giving that advice as well. Um, and I was asked to prove the integrity of the president because the presidential jet was kept in London, and so as a result of that, there's no integrity. Um, we cannot use that as a yardstick. The president, the jet is in London. We don't have details of what happened, why the jet was parked, cost implication. All these facts are not before us. If we have the fact, we'll be able to render an opinion on, okay, if this is like this, then this one is corruption. If this is like this, then this is proper. We don't have the facts now, except we have the fact to be able to form an opinion. Eniola suggested that there should be capital offences for corrupt people, and I think I also key into that. There has been a debate on that, let us have capital offences, but to have a law that will prescribe capital punishment for corrupt practices, then we have to look into that law properly, starting from look at the amount involved, what kind of corruption are we talking about. So lawmakers who do that, I think we need a review of law relating to corruption. I entirely agree with that. Kolawole Joseph said that the president's integrity and his likely re-election into the office of the president next election 2011 is not to him. It's not good because of the way he handled the Herdsmen issue. And that alone, we cannot use it as a yardstick to determine whether you should come back or you should not come back. Because the administration of a country, especially Nigeria, is very wide.
Very complex.
Very, very complex. We may not be able to use only that to say, oh, you should not come back or you should come back. So, but I agree something must be done there. States too can also do that. They have the power through the House of Assembly to make law and regulate that without waiting for the National Assembly. So they can do that. So let each state also address the issue. So in my state, this is what I want. The National House of Assembly of that state can handle the issue and leave the president alone.
All right, let's add these messages and tweets, and I'll wrap it up for us this morning. Akiyomobaba says APC was used to chase Jonathan away. Each actor's invested money for gain. Therefore, there is nothing to do to it than to decide not to allow the ex-general to use us anymore. Okay, PMB code-minded attitude towards happenings in recent is questionable, putting its integrity will be left in to question. Cabals always in every setting. The role of the leader, however, is to take charge and be in control. PMB is not in control of this government at all. Were there no cabals in OBJ's government for 8 years, those that raised their heads were shown the way out immediately. Maybe PMB is being pleased with happenings, reason he has refused to show up. All right, and they sent in that one.
And for the tweets via the Twitter handle, we have Engineer Lexilet. Our president is trying, but he's surrounded with highly corrupted people. How can his effort reflect? And we have Comrade Mojid. The country is in a deep comatose. There's no sign of coming out of it. The hemorrhage is of the highest order. Yemi Da Vinci, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. The president has chosen to surround him with a reflection of all right, then, Comrade Mojid, let's take a cue from Saudi Arabia. All that were suspected to be corrupt have been arrested. That's acting. Akimbodi Muiz, I want to believe that PMB is really doing his part, but it seems the cabinet is very wrong. We have a right president and the wrong cabinet. That's all for the tweets.
All right, thank you very much. Your final submission, Ibrahim Atanda.
Well, thank you. I just want to urge us that we should have hope in the project called Nigeria, and I believe that we will get there. I am of opinion that to government, we just have 20% responsibility on their part. 80% of responsibility lies with the citizens. If we are ready to change, if we are ready to do good as expected, the government will also excel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, all those who contributed, those who called, those who sent messages, those who tweeted, and those who posted comments on our Facebook page. We appreciate every one of you. And of course, those who just sat down quietly and listened to enjoy the show. All right, we want to appreciate you, Barrister Ibrahim Atanda, for actually honoring our invitation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome too. Thank you.
All right, have a wonderful day. From here, it's wonderful having you on the show. I am Tobi Joseph.